Bianca alcoholic.
Bianca.
Thank you for everyone coming in. Thank you for cheering. I mean, 1 year ago today, I thought that I was mentally ill, and I ended up in a lockdown facility psych ward. And they diagnosed me with a whole bunch of additional things other than bipolar. They said I had schizophrenia, dysthymia, all these magical things. And I thought I was going to stay in there and I couldn't get out. And I was really mad when I came into treatment. I didn't think I had a living problem. I thought I just had to come into treatment to get off my drug of choice, or alcohol. And I had been in and out of treatment facilities and psych wards since I was 16, every year, because I thought I was mentally ill. But it was actually because I didn't know how to cope or live life on life's terms. When things got a little uncomfortable or too hard, or I had to take responsibility, I would get into a mess, and it was easier just to give up and stop trying, and everyone else was responsible for me. And I blamed, my childhood was a little bit was dysfunctional, and I rode that train until the gates of insanity, blaming everything and everybody. I was a victim of circumstance, and I never had a part in anything because it was always everyone else's fault, because I could never make a mistake. I couldn't make mistakes. As a kid, it was easier to point fingers. And I think that's where all the dishonesty started creeping in. I would lie and manipulate my way to get myself out of trouble. And I guess when I came into treatment, I didn't think this program would work because I had tried so many times before. I had gone to the meetings, not that I listened, I just took inventories. I had gone to the psychiatrists and psychologists, even though I didn't tell them I was an alcoholic, what I was really doing, because I didn't want to expose who I really was and get vulnerable with people, because I was so scared of being judged or being alone. And I'd always force things with people. I mean, they say you keep hostages, and that's exactly what I did. I would guilt trip people into just being with me or around me, even if it meant manipulating them with alcohol. I was that fun friend you would want to call, or let's have a good time, and I'd manipulate them. And eventually, those friends started not wanting to be around me, and I remember them saying to me, Bianca, we can't be around you anymore because we don't want to watch you kill yourself. And I was like, I didn't even think maybe I should stop. I just thought, what? These people are supposed to be my friends, no matter what. What kind of friends are these? So I started pushing people away from me, and I became a very resentful person. I pretended like I didn't care, but I cared very deeply about what people thought, because I had low self-esteem and self-worth, and I based how I saw myself and what other people thought. And I think that's where people-pleasing came in. I was super codependent on everyone else. If I used to walk to a shop and someone said, Bianca, what would you like to drink? Do you want a cream soda or a Coke? It wouldn't be what I wanted. I'd be like, well, what do you want? Like, what is this person? What do you feel like? Because I didn't know myself. I came into this program very lost and confused and hopeless, I thought. But I'd never done the 12 steps. I never did the 12 steps, and then when I came into treatment, I think I just lived in so much denial for so many years. A lot of my recovery has been unlearning things, and when I came in, I got concerned, and they said to me, Bianca, you're an attention seeker or affirmation seeker. I was so offended because I was like, what? I think I said, what's wrong with that? Like, everyone likes attention. Who doesn't like attention? You love attention. Like, I was horrified, And they said, it's not an asset. It's not an asset. And I was so confused, and I think I didn't understand the program or what was required of me. I kind of just complied for it all. Well, I pretty much complied most of the time because I was so fearful, but I complied and did things even though I didn't understand why I was doing them, because I couldn't get honest with myself. I was still looking at other people and how other people were doing things because I couldn't take responsibility for myself or try and change the picture. I got a message of hope from people like you, that showed me, I got vulnerable in meetings and exposed who they really were and how they were using this program. They started getting better and it gave me some kind of hope. I was like, maybe it's possible for someone like me, to get better. And yeah, I did the 12 steps, and they said, I looked at step 1 and all my consequences. I thought it was to show how badass I was and all my consequences and my drinking escapades, and and did my step 4 of how much I hated everything and everybody and why I was the way that I was, and I had this is the reason I drank and used, because of these people. It's all their fault, if this person didn't reject me, or if this one didn't abandon me, I wouldn't have felt like this, and that's why I drank, and that's why I am the way that I am. And I had 98 pages of resentments, and I sat down with the sponsor, and she's like, "You are so self-indulgent." I was horrified. I'm like, it says asserting and fearless moral inventory. I search fearlessly. And she's like, no, you can take some of the stuff off. And I'm like, I'm so upset. And then I wanted to talk to her about something. I had to let go of a relationship with someone that I was in a relationship with. There was also an addict. And she's like, you can't speak about this stuff until you get to your step 5. And then I waited, and when I got to that step 5, I just let her have it. And she just said to me, she just said, stop. And she's like, come back. She left me. I'm like, I'm in the States. Where are you going? And we sat down and we prayed, and then she started going through all my resentments, and I had a lot of question marks where my part was, because I literally couldn't see it. So I'm like, I literally cannot see where I'm at fault. I was so set on it being everyone else's fault, and she started pointing out things to me and my defects that I didn't know about myself, like I was willful, like people pleased, that I was attention seeking and affirmation seeking, and I heard it, but I didn't understand it, and I couldn't connect to it. But I carried on doing my steps, and I did my step 8, and it was a beautiful and powerful step for me. But I still don't think I connected properly to it, because my step 8, the first time, it was a very painful step for me, and I could see how much harm I caused my family and people around me, but it was still I did this, and I felt this way about doing this to you. It wasn't really about what it was like for them or what they went through. So I did my 12 steps, and I thought I was doing it as honestly as I could. And I thought, because that's been my story. I always think I have the best intentions and I'm doing things the right way, but I was so mad. I didn't have that awareness, like they speak about in the big book, that constant thought of others, because it was always constant thought of me. It was still very much me based. And they said to me, no, you need to go to the halfway house. And I'm like, oh, I thought this was a 21-day program. So I'm like, okay. And she's like, no, you need to go to the halfway house. So I'm like, okay, for how? Like, I stayed the 3 months because I was willing, because I was willing. I had so much pain in active addiction. It was just, I had enough. So she said, no, you need to go to the halfway house, stay a 4th month, stayed a 4th month and a little bit over. And she's like, you need to go to the halfway house. So I'm like, okay, I can go for a little bit. How long? She's like, at least a year. I'm like, no. I'm like, a year. But I did, because something happened along the way going into treatment. I stopped my medication. And I remember then I stopped my medication, which I didn't think was possible, humanly possible for me to stop, because I couldn't cope. It was my crutch. You know, if I didn't have this one, I couldn't swap it out for anything. I needed the medication because I just wanted to numb myself, because I couldn't cope with how I was feeling, because I was very much about how I felt. I couldn't cope with people, situations, and that's why I used to isolate. And they said, no, well, if you think you're mentally sick, get off your medication and let's see how you behave. I'm like, well, good luck. And I got off and I started getting better. You know, I started getting better, and I come from a family that had, medication's a big thing, you know. And I got off and I started feeling better, and I started trusting these people, because I'm like, okay, you know, I thought they were crazy and people were brainwashed here, and the stuff's not going to work for me. And I got off this medication and I started getting better, and I started seeing things more colorfully. I started paying attention to people. I could remember things. I mean, when I first came into treatments, I couldn't remember anything. I used to walk around with this little book and just write down stuff. Like, people would say something to me and I couldn't remember, so I'd quickly write it down. And I'd get very overwhelmed, because I'm like, why can't I remember things? And even my step work in the beginning, I couldn't write properly or string proper sentences together when I first came in. I wasn't okay. And but I did. I got better for the first time, and I started feeling better, which was weird. Like, I don't need a substance to give me joy. I started laughing for the first time in a long time. You know, I felt very dead inside an active addiction. You know, and everything stopped working for me, but I kept on going back because it was more comfortable. I thought it would be more comfortable, but it was just very lonely and dark and scary for me, and I couldn't even trust my own thinking anymore. Yeah, I know I'm bouncing around, but I went into my step life story feedback. I remember pouring my heart out, and everyone started using words like, you're delusional. You don't know what's real or not real. You know, like, I walked out there and I cried and I sat on the grass and I just sat there and I started recapping everything. I'm like, I think I'm sick. I think that's what's wrong with me. I think I'm actually just sick, and that I might actually have a disease. And there was some truth to it. And they said it's the behavior. It wasn't about my drinking, using. It was literally about the behavior and the people pleasing and the dishonesties. And then they said, no, you need. When I started connecting to that, I'm like, okay, well, I want to change these things, because I could see where I ended up all the time: hospitals and psych wards and car accidents, suicide attempts. I was just so done. Then I went to the halfway house and I thought, okay, I've cleaned house and everything's okay, and the dishonesty started creeping up again. Because I wasn't feeling okay, because I had nothing to fix off of. I needed something to make me feel better, and I've never taken responsibility for my life and looked after myself. I've always put it on my parents, you know, and my family, and I didn't have that. Like, you have to do this for yourself, and you have to be responsible and honest and work a program, make your bed, eat 3 meals a day, like brush your teeth twice a day. Like, these were like new things for me, you know, and be honest and vulnerable with people, and it was uncomfortable, because I didn't know how to do that. I was so used to just keeping everything bottled up and just avoiding, because I was a big avoider. And I had a concern group with people, and I remember this one guy defended me in the concern group. And what that did for me was, okay, the women are wrong, and now I'm justified, and this person's making me feel better. And I actually got into a dishonesty with this person, dishonest relationship with him, because it's just the story of my life. I needed something outside myself to make me feel better. And it wasn't drugs, and it wasn't alcohol, and it wasn't education, it was a person. Because I could fix up anything, even if it's gym or exercise. And I got into a dishonesty with this person, and I ended up back in treatment, clean and sober, because I got into a mess, because I realized that, wow, it isn't the drugs and alcohol, it's just my behavior, and I can't cope with life on life's terms, and I needed to work my program, and I didn't really understand how I just complied. I was doing everything like the dishes and cleaning and spiritual duties because it looks good to everybody else, but I wasn't working on what was happening inside. I wasn't working on my defects, and I wasn't applying spiritual principles to the best of my ability. And then I got into this dishonest relationship, and I remember my one sponsor said to me, she's like, rigorous honesty is telling the truth no matter what the consequences are. And I went into the back room with this person, and I just got honest with them about what had happened. And I knew if I had to get honest about this stuff, I'm probably going to get kicked out. Probably going to relapse and die. No, I didn't think that, because I just knew that there was just no going back, because I could clearly see that I was the problem. And it was my behavior, and I had no one else to blame. I could see me for me in front of me for who I was as a person without everything, and everything changed from me from that point. I got honest about this, and everything just started snowballing. Like, this person, we all got exposed, and this person ended up in a crack house. Another person got affected. They were 1 year clean and sober, and they drank. Not that it's all my fault, everyone has a part, but I would fix, like, that's the thing with intention. I would fix off affirmation from this person or anything just to make me feel better. And I didn't know that that was so selfish, and how that would actually transpire, and how that actually affected other people. And this guy had these 2 kids waiting at an airport for his dad that didn't rock up. And I started sitting in concern groups after that, and I'm like, okay, it's clearly me. I'm clearly the problem, and something has to change. And then I did an assignment on my steps again, and my step 8, and everything was completely different. It wasn't like, my step 8 was not about how I was affected. It's like, okay, I remember times in active addiction, what that must have been like for my mom. I was so fearful, and I threw my phone because I was just so anxious. It was like, sure, my mom used to stay up until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and fall asleep on the couch waiting for me to come home, and I never did. I would never pick up the phone from her. I'd let her worry and run around at hospitals and morgues looking for me because she was so worried. I just didn't think about those things until I connected in writing the steps, and I stopped becoming manipulative from that point. My sponsor even said to me, she's like, Bianca, you need to just tie up your hair and do this thing properly. And I tied up my hair, and I didn't want to because I felt uncomfortable, because I needed affirmation. I needed something to make me feel good about myself, because I couldn't do it for myself. So I thought, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to hurt people like this anymore. And that's that constant thought of others that changed for me. It's like, okay, I want to consider other people in my behavior, because you don't know what one bad choice can do and how that affects other people. And I thought, how many other people have I affected like this from one selfish decision because I couldn't try and be open-minded to see how that would affect other people, what my actions and behaviors did. I mean, my mother still traumatized by it, even though I'm a year clean and sober. Like, she's proud, but I mean, I've done a lot of damage, and I think that's why I've also stuck around, because I'm not the only one that, like, I thought I suffered, but I'm not the only one. Like, I affected so many relationships and people around me, and I don't even know to what extent, but I know that every single day I'm willing to do things differently, because I could see where I went wrong. And yeah, recovery now for me is the best life I've ever known. It's the most freeing, beautiful, amazing thing where I can truly, honestly be myself. I don't have to put makeup on and do my nails and try and look my best to try and impress people. I don't. I expose where I'm at and who I am for the person that I am, and I grow spiritually because of that. And I'm not afraid to make mistakes anymore, because I learn from them in recovery. And I make a lot of mistakes, and I need a lot of courage, which my sponsor helps me with on the daily, and it's to change the picture, because I don't want to go back to that person who thinks about herself, who's self-centered, and I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to hurt and affect other people. I love people now, and I care about them, and I have compassion and understanding for them. I don't want to judge. I want people to feel accepted, and give them the love that they've shown me. And I've got that in recovery. I have people that love and support me, and even on my work, well, not my worst days, but even on bad days, like I'll be sitting here in Scottsboro and then people will just drive past. It's like there's just angels all around, and they want to help and they care. They're not telling me, hey, you have a drink if you've had a bad day. They're like, okay, you can do this. Like, you've spoken to your sponsor. You know, it's a support, and I keep coming back here because I know how a little bit now with the recovery that I've got how to live a little. Life on life terms that I can face things without picking up, and I don't need to suppress myself. And I can be me, and I've started feeling more empowered in this program because everything that I thought I couldn't do or achieve, I've achieved in recovery. Having hard conversations, you know, and confrontations, trying to learn to communicate and not suppress, lash out and be reckless and irresponsible. I mean, my sponsor, when I came back into the halfway house, her suggestion was, she said to me, because I was even fixing or shopping, she said to me, she's like, okay, if I have one thing to tell you, just do not spend money on clothes, okay? That's the one thing, and I still haven't spent money on clothes. And she's like, if you can't pay rent, you can't buy clothes. And then, you know, I got this job and I worked my way up, and I was like, cool, I made honest decision. I got to this point and I walked past the shop and I'm like, I don't want to buy things now. Do you know what I mean? Like, those materialistic things are not what I want anymore. I want to grow spiritually and shine the torch on myself and change. And yeah, sometimes it gets a bit uncomfortable, but I love that because when I'm comfortable, I'm growing. And I can live in the world now, you know, and I can connect to people and have conversations with people. I can never do that. I was just so fearful and isolated, drawing behind a curtain, you know, terrified of everyone. I thought everyone was so horrible, but they're not. They're beautiful, and people are just like me. And I feel like the more I stay in recovery and the more that I learn about myself, the more I want to keep doing this. And the relationships I've had with my family have gotten better. I mean, the conversations I used to have with my sister, she'd be like, I hate you, I don't want to speak to you, and you're so irresponsible, so selfish. It's not like that anymore. Like, we have really great conversations. She lets me phone her once a week or twice a week, and I get time with her kids, phone time. She wouldn't even let me be around her children because she said that she didn't think that they were safe, and I used to scare them, and she didn't want me around them. And now they love me, and my brother asks me all the time, hey, you're going to come back to Joburg, you can stay with us. And my dad also used to be on medication. You saw that I got off. I'm not saying I'm responsible for it, but he stopped. He stopped his medication, you know, because I got better. It's like, do you sleep? I'm like, I sleep the best that I ever had, you know. And I know that drugs and alcohol are problem relationships with me, but I get to make indirect amends. I had an amends with my brother, funny enough. I resented his wife for so many years because she said something ugly about my mum. And I said, no, I hate her, I'm never going to her house, she's horrible and whatever. And when I saw, and I never used to go to bras, family functions, events, I used to rock up there drunk, but I never went there. And when my brother came to Durban, he wanted to visit me. I think I was like, I was nearly a year sober. He came to visit me, and I had a hard conversation with my sister-in-law about her perceptions and what she thought and like why she said the things that she said. And I had this awareness because before I would have probably gone ballistic and like attacked her or been defensive, and I didn't. So I could understand where she was coming from because I have, I've learned to be more open-minded to what people have to say and understand it from their point of view, you know. I'm not so closed-minded anymore, and I was like, okay, I understand. We're all human, and yeah, I love her, and our relationship's gotten better, and my brothers and my families and my moms. Even my grandma, I get to make indirect amends to my grandma and be there for her, you know. She was really sick at one stage, and I was able to not make it about me. You know, if there was something up with the family, I would make such a drama out of it and cry and scream, oh, Bianca's not going to be okay. No one even wanted to tell me anything because I couldn't handle stuff. And now they come to me and they're like, they'll speak to me, and I'm like, okay, everything's calm and defuse situations instead of making it worse and making a mess out of things. So a lot of my recovery is becoming not just honest with people around me, but rigorously honest with myself. You know, And I think that's the greatest gift I've received so far in recovery, is to be able to be honest and do things differently. Even in my step 11, it's not what my sponsor wants to hear, it's more like I write to God, into my higher power, and I'm honest with him and what I need to change. And even moments when I feel fearful, I'll get on my knees and I'll pray, and I'm like, okay, like, what do I need to do? Like, what am I missing here? Like, help me and guide me. And my higher power he's been a part of my journey this whole time. I didn't believe in God or a higher power when I came into treatment, but it's literally the reason I go through life. I've never had to force or struggle with anything. Things just happen, opportunities, jobs, relationships, people, conversations I've had with people. It's all God. Me being sober is all God, because I could not do this by myself. I couldn't stay sober for a day or a minute. I didn't understand what just for today was. I couldn't bear just for today, like just for today I'm not going to have a drink. Like, I couldn't imagine it, and I don't even think about it. And these days have wrapped up, and I've lived every day to the fullest with love in my heart for this program and the people around me, because it's these meetings and listening to people share and identify with me and be honest. Like, I found God. I'm like, wow, like literally the most hopeless cases, I got so much hope from them because they got better. So I know that this program works. And it's a miracle. I think anyone sitting in the seat today is a miracle. And I feel like everyone here is brave. If you're wanting to change your life and do things differently, you are so brave. And I'm grateful for everyone here. And I'm grateful for this program and my recovery, and especially my sponsor, because you totally love me. Even when I didn't love myself and I made things very difficult, and I hope I gave you growth. Because you definitely gave me, and you loved me unconditionally. Even when I felt like I didn't deserve recovery, you showed me another way and gave me a chance, second chance at life, and a second chance to live, and someone that I could confide in and tell people things that I wouldn't tell anyone. And you never judged me. You supported me and encouraged me and gave me tough love. Even love I didn't want, you gave it to me anyway. And with you, I think it was different because I listened to you with blindly in faith, because I could see myself for the first time because of those concern groups and people being honest with me. I could see and understand why I needed to be here, and I'm here because I want to, and I love recovery, and it's amazing. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Bianca.